Hey everybody, it's Jork. Welcome back. Hope you're doing great wherever you are in the world. Today I want to talk about language or a couple of terms that people use to call one another and when they live in another country. And it just seems to be a big bone of contention for people about either what they prefer to call themselves or what other people should or are allowed to call each other who live in different countries. And I'm bringing this up because several comments on a few videos brought up this, I'll say the debate or maybe the contentiousness, and then received a few emails from people as well. So I thought I'd address it and explain maybe my opinions on it, as well as some of the why you may be seeing some terms show up in YouTube more than others. And it's a monetary component, so shocker. But let's get into it. It's about expat versus immigrant and which one you call yourself. Some people refer, if you live in another country, foreigner, globetrotter. I know there's one gentleman who will send me a message every couple of months. He'll send an email and he's a globetrotter. That's what he refers to himself. But I'm speaking specifically here about expat and immigrant. And it seems like more often than not, and this is a general statement, so I don't want to piss off people that think otherwise, but it seems like if more people had met from the US, Canada, the UK, may refer to themselves as expats in other countries, and people that live in other countries, and most of the people that we met, especially living in Portugal and Lisbon, were from Eastern European countries, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, several Nepalese, as well as Angola. Lived an area, there were a couple of apartment buildings where most of the people had immigrated from Angola over the last few decades. And they all referred to themselves as immigrants, or they would refer to themselves as their home country. I'm Angolan. I'm not an expat, an immigrant, a foreigner. I'm Ukrainian, I'm Russian, I'm Italian. Those are where people, use their home, wherever their home was or originated. That's how they refer to themselves, as opposed to getting into an expat and immigrant debate. And it seems like from comments and just from being around several people over many years and traveling abroad as well as living abroad, there's this, sometimes there can be a pretentiousness or better than, I'm struggling here, maybe it's entitled when people use the term expat to almost feel like they're better than someone else, versus if you use the term immigrant, which it's both people living in foreign countries. Often one might get tied to work versus not. Yes or no? But immigrant, it seems like it's less, it's more used by more people around the world, but not necessarily used by as many people from, let's say, US, Canada, UK specifically. And the reason I'm bringing out those specific regions is when I make videos, and here's some of the why I think you may see certain words over others, and you may get flustered by it, is that of all of the body of videos that I've made over the years, and I mean long form, not shorts, but the long form videos, 90% of the people that watch them happen to be in the US, makes sense, I'm American, Canada, or the UK. So all English-speaking countries and regions. Oddly enough, India is another one that in the top 4 countries, India is also a place. Portugal, even though there are people from Portugal that I know of that watch the channel because I know they live there and they comment that they live there, doesn't hit the top 10 as far as views go. And the reason I say that specifically is because when I make a video, or anyone makes a video on YouTube, so if you happen to make YouTube videos, please comment. If you don't, you want to, go for it. I think you should. When you make and you download a video and you come up with a title, there's a little button that you can click called A/B testing and like alpha, beta. And you can come up with like a couple of different images, thumbnails as they call them, to where you're going to click, and different words that you can use on those, and then different titles, and to see who's going to watch what. And invariably, over the years, and this is since I started doing videos, which was in the height of the pandemic, if I use the term expat on the thumbnail that you look at, or if I use the term expat in the title, there, generally speaking, is 20 to 30% more views, and that may be 20 to 30 more views, because lately videos are getting anywhere from, let's say, 700 to 1,400 views, depending on what the topic is. If I put expat in, I know that there will be more people watching. Now, please keep in mind, though, the overwhelming majority of the people that happen to watch my channel versus others live in countries where probably they like the term expat, or they prefer to call themselves expat versus immigrant. So there's a bias there, and I just want to make sure that there's full disclosure in that. I'm not trying to hide anything. When I put immigrant in, so when I do the A/B testing, there are less people. What's interesting, though, is India, for example, just as many people watch, regardless of if the terms expat, immigrant, foreigner, resident, citizen, whatever. But more, there's other countries that end up watching more of the videos if I use the term immigrant than not. And it's my feeling that more people around the world, as they move abroad, refer to themselves as immigrants versus expats. I may be wrong about that, but please comment below. What's interesting is that, if we're speaking about Portugal, the people that have gotten there and have lived there or are currently living there, hopefully we're all residents and we're all legal and we've all made it there, and some of you are still waiting for residence cards. That's another story in another video. But at least maybe we could all agree that we could call each other residents. We're all foreigners, or have been, right? I think we could all agree on that. It's just the two terms. One, people feel like expat comes off as you're elitist or better than an immigrant. You're just like everyone else. What I find fascinating about making videos, and what I've learned over the years, and this is partly YouTube, part human behavior. If I put in the term expatriate, which is technically the formal full-length term of expat, very few people watch anything when you put expatriate in the thumbnail somewhere or as a part of the title. So that's fascinating to me, because it's the same damn thing as expat. It's just using the full term. But for whatever reason, people, even people that click on the expat title or thumbnail, are less likely to put or click the expatriate video. And sometimes I've done testing where I've done expat, expatriate, and immigrant to see what will come in first, second, and third. And expat almost always number one, immigrant always number two, every once in a while number one, and then expatriate a distant third, to where people aren't clicking it. So I wanted to bring that up because it does, in the course of, let's say, making videos over the course of a month. Last month I didn't do a good job of it, but this month I'm probably going to make anywhere from $45 to $55 US this month in the videos that I made. And some people say, why do you bother making videos? That's nothing. And that's true. It averages to about a $2 an hour as far as the time put into making them and posting and blah, blah, blah. But there is some monetary incentive. You do have to deal with some of the the commercials. But it is interesting if you use expat. If I use that for everything, there would probably be more subscribers, more followers or comments, good or bad. And there would just be more people generally coming and seeing things however they view. And what I also wanted to bring up as part of the why is I'm looking here at my YouTube page, and there is a tab that they have called Inspiration. So if you're struggling and you're doing, I don't know, you're doing a cooking channel and you're struggling to come up with a cooking video based upon what you've published, it'll give you ideas that your audience is searching for. So those of you that follow, those of you that subscribe, it will tell me, okay, here's maybe the next 5 videos or 10 videos. And many of these, funny enough, have expat in the title, not immigrant. So, the hidden costs of expats moving to Portugal. That's the number one thing here that shows up as inspiration if I were to make a video on. So that's beyond Portugal, an expat's journey for choosing a new home. That's another one that shows up for me, as opposed to an immigrant's journey or just saying a new person's journey, a foreigner's journey for finding a new home. So it's interesting that much of that is also dependent on who's searching and who searches for what. And it seems like because I'm saying, and it's biased because I have a small channel, and the people that are watching these videos are clicking more or typing in more something about an expat, which somehow I show up as maybe something that they may want to watch when it relates to Portugal, as opposed to typing in immigrant. But for me, I feel like it's, I think we can all say that we're immigrants for places. If you're new to a country, I don't know, I guess as a resident of Portugal, I guess I could say I was an expatriate because it was a working thing and then the work went away and then you go back home. But immigrant seems to be the one that is less people get upset about if you say you're an immigrant or if you title something immigrant. When you title something expat, I think like somebody sent me an email. He and his wife are tired of seeing expat blah 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 because he said you just sound like an entitled jackass. They'll be diplomatic. He said a few other things, and it may be right. But I'm curious. As you're kind of thinking about this, I wanted to give you some of the why that you may see things stated a certain way. Because you can get more views if you use certain terms versus others. And it's just, that's been my experience with the small channel. Bigger people with bigger channels may have different thoughts. But I want to get your feelings on that because it's a bone of contention. And it seems like I'm going to stick with continuing to say immigrant about stuff. It may not get the same views, but I think more people across a greater section of the world that are considering, and specifically as I make videos about Portugal, more people over time will type in that word over, let's say, the next 5 to 10 years, as opposed to expat. And that's something there. But I'm just curious. I'm just giving my opinion on some things. I'm just curious what your feelings are. But I wanted to respond because several people had left comments about the use of 1 or 2 words, expat versus immigrant. And I just figured it is worth addressing and just asking, what are your feelings on that? When you go search for things, do you care if it's stated one way or the other? Or when you introduce yourself at meetups and functions, usually I just use my name and I have a unique name. So that's my introduction because people, how'd you get your name? And they can tell from my accent probably where I came from, so I don't have to say that. And as well as there wasn't really a lot of discussions about what people called each other, but it did tend to be more people from the U.S. Were calling themselves expats. Some Brits were, and a handful of Canadians. And everyone else was more like to say immigrants. But what do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you have a horse in this race? And do you feel like there should be like a uniform term that everyone should call themselves when they live in another country? It seems like that would be maybe the best thing that we could come to an agreement on is, okay, if you're not from that country and you live there, here's what we call you. And then instead of like 10 different terms, it's just we all agree on one. Let me know what you think of in the comments. As always, thank you so much for watching and enjoy your travels.